Okay, good afternoon, listeners. This is your host, Ryan Angot. I am here on the Delegate to Innovate podcast, season one. With me today, a fellow board member, investor, friend, Doug Freutel. Doug, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here and honored that you thought of me to join this. So,
Well, I look for entrepreneurs with an extensive, unique background, and you have what it takes. I'll tell you that much. I know I've known you for a couple of years, Doug, but the range that you have is what I love. You've been maybe a 30-ish something year entrepreneur. Well, you've run Radiant for 30 years, which is, for the listeners, why don't you describe Radiant and describe Noble first and foremost? Let's start there, what those two businesses or organizations are.
yeah. Radiant, which has been my longest venture, is a audiovisual company that helps large enterprises, and most people are probably most familiar with our work at airports. So if you ever fly through Minneapolis, St. Paul, or right here in Columbus, and then a number of other airports throughout the United States, all of the digital signage and screens and flight data and stuff like that is through us. But then we also work with large corporations and providing solutions that do this, but kind of more for large corporate. And so I've been doing that since 2001, and then over the years I've picked up a number of things, and like many entrepreneurs, I think that the two funny things that you and I are both part of the Visionary Forum.
Mhm.
And I think always the joke, getting a bunch of visionary together is how many K1s and how many websites, domains do you own?
Sure.
So I'm probably sitting at about 7 K1s and probably like 30, 40 domains that I get a crazy idea and then it's like go to GoDaddy and
Yeah.
register the domains for. So, um, so
GoDaddy loves visionaries.
exactly.
And your tax guy must love you too for giving him all that business.
Yeah.
But hopefully you made it through tax season. We're now 3 weeks beyond it. So,
Yeah.
and sorry for us being a little delayed on our K1s. It's always a joy as a business owner, but
No, exactly. Yeah, we're never able to file on time.
never. Explain a little bit about Noble. What I love is when I say range, you know, you talk a lot about being spiritual and God and giving back kind of under the light of kind of God's presence.
Hmm.
I'm Lutheran. I love that you're open and honest, especially in a business environment, which is a little taboo in some regards of not being out there, and you're front and forward about it, which I love. You're also a bourbon steward, which usually you don't hear like two of those go hand in hand. You think of like, goody two shoe religion, priest, God, and then you got, the drinking side of the house. So somewhere in between those have melted. So we know about Radiant. Explain a little bit more about Noble and a little bit more about your hobby in the bourbon world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Noble, and for anybody interested, the noblewisdom.com. So Noble stands for the Network of Owners, Business Leaders, and Entrepreneurs, and was started by actually the senior pastor and one of our cohorts that got up in front of the church and felt the calling to have an altar call to bless entrepreneurs within the congregation, and had no idea. Just felt this calling, and so they got up and said, "Hey, if this resonates with anybody in the church that you have a calling for entrepreneurship, or having a business or have your business, come up for prayer." And like half the church came forward, and they were just like, "Holy cow! Like this is there's something here." And so they then kind of wrote my brother and I in, and to develop basically what is now Noble. And so we help Christian entrepreneurs or faith-based people to build kingdompreneurship. and so to build businesses that can align with the kingdom. And that really resonated a lot with me because I remember just, going to church my whole life, and especially once I was in business and trying to get into small groups. And of course, most small groups in churches are just people talking about families and not necessarily, business and stuff like that. And so I was church hunting for many, many years, trying to find my community. And so eventually, I guess God prepared us to create our own community. And so that's been a wonderful blessing that we've done for the last couple of years. And we have a Noble Academy, which helps teach entrepreneurship. So we have even kids as young as middle schoolers all the way up to elderly adults that come and think that they want to be an entrepreneur. And so we take them through a multi-week program that the beginning is identifying their purpose, because if you, unless you truly understand your purpose and that purpose aligns with your business, then that's a potential issue. So we start off with identifying people's purpose. We then actually use Gino Wickman's work on Entrepreneurial Leap and actually teach eLeap is, do you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and hopefully save you a lot of heartache, because there's a lot of people out there, being an entrepreneur is kind of the sexy thing right now, and that everybody thinks that they want to be, and so forth. And as you know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of strain on the family, it's a lot of strain on finances and resources, it's a lot of strain everywhere. And so it really takes somebody special to do it. And so we want to help people understand that this is a hard path. And so by the end of the course, they're pitching to investors and have started their business. And so that's been a wonderful thing. And then we even help people with then their entrepreneurial journey. So whether they're new to business or have been building their business for a while and building leadership, and what does it take to start letting go of the vine and actually building leadership, after you start building a leadership team, so many entrepreneurs hold on to that vine. And so then a lot of companies might have growth and then start to plateau and then even fall because the entrepreneur is not willing to let go of things and not willing to trust and be a leader versus, just a builder. And then the post side of, M&A, how to eventually sell your business and start looking towards leveraging the abundance that you created and how you start building a legacy, turning over the next generation, what to do with your legacy and so forth beyond that. So it's been an incredible program and kind of a passion project to be involved with that.
No, it's awesome. And so Noble sounds, this is an entrepreneur podcast type of setting in business owners. It's free. Now you've got to be kind of in that community, and it could be on-site, virtual. It's basically a resource for entrepreneurs, and you're kind of screening and helping and coaching and telling people maybe this isn't the right path for you, but if it is, we have a program to help you get to the next level. And I'm asking about that because I actually went through Gino's eLeap. I don't know if it's eLeap or Leap. I signed up through Ryan, somebody, I can't remember his last name, but and I found value in it, although I think I was a little far down the line from where most people were. I mean, my dad was Entrepreneur of the Year about 10 years ago, and he's been around the block 50 years. So fortunately, I've had his experience, which is invaluable. Most people don't get that. So is it more of an incubator type that you would find in other states, or can you tell me a little bit more about the detail of what that does for the entrepreneur and how you get involved?
Yeah. So maybe first off, all of our programs are free. So to go through our Entrepreneurial Academy, it's completely free of charge. And in fact, you're pitching to investors that's actually giving you money to start your business, no strings attached. And it has been growing. We started it here in Columbus. We're already in Pittsburgh. We're about to be in New Jersey and Cleveland. And it's just slowly growing. And so that's where we're having like the Entrepreneur Live Academies. That's all in person, but then we have twice a month we'll have workshops. Twice a month we have what we call our forums, and that's where people in these groups. We have 4 different tiers. We have Noble Growth or Noble Knowledge, and that's for people that are trying to accumulate knowledge about building a business. And then we have Growth, which is I've already started my business and I've probably burned my boats and are now in that growth phase. And then we have Leadership, which is the phase of I've grown my business and I'm bringing on a leadership team, and how do I transition to being a leader? And then Abundance. And so we have people from all over the country that participate in our virtual events. But right now, our locations are kind of, spreading into these different communities.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great service. And then just sometimes you refer people that are in Noble to say you want to take it to a different level. You can do a paid program through Leap. Is that how you guys are kind of
Yeah,
married?
no, absolutely. If they and we have a number of resources. We do a ton of one-on-one coaching. My brother, in fact, has been involved with all of the one-on-one coaching since the beginning. It's practically a full-time job for him. Is one-on-one coaching with people, at different phases, and then we have other specialists that have different experiences in different areas and provide coaching for businesses wherever they're stuck or trying to get going, or idea refinement, and getting their pitches, and just all different types of areas. And so then sometimes we invest. So as I invested in LapLock and those types of things, and be able to to contribute to. So yeah,
That's awesome. Well, I strongly believe, there's a phrase, you can't buy experience, so why don't you cash in on somebody else's? And now burning the boats and going all in on this tech lock with my dad. I mean, we've been moonlighting it for many years, and now it's our full-time job. Well, my full-time job, really. Boy, the value of having experience outside of a set of eyes or a series of eyes to coach and give feedback and screen. I mean, I'm getting some podcasts. People are asking me now. We're catching a little buzz, like TechLock's becoming more real, and we're out in the market. And younger people are asking me, like, what do you recommend? And I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's not for everybody. Like, it's a hot trend to be your own owner and your own schedule, work from anywhere. But it sounds glamorous and sexy. But when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, it's not. I mean, it's long days, it's stress, it's hard on your family. So that the fact that you guys have a free resource for budding or startup or really any entrepreneur in their phase, that's fantastic. I love that you do that work with Noble. So that's awesome. Now into the more fun topic, how do you go from Noble to being this bourbon guru? Like, how did that happen? And I'm going to ask you a little bit of bourbon trivia on or not trivia, but some questions on the lightning round. How did you get into this hole? Because you claim as a bourbon steward, correctly? Is that accurate?
Yeah. So through the Stave and Thief Society, I am a certified executive bourbon steward. And so, I mean, the connection is not that big of a leap. I mean, Jesus was the ultimate distiller. He, our consummate winemaker. So,
I love that. It's funny.
No, actually, that all started. I used to be a beer maker. I loved microbrews, and then we opened up a Louisville office many years ago, and the guys down there just really, really got me interested in bourbon, and so kind of made the switch over to that, and gotten involved. But really, it was after COVID, because so much of my job being the visionary is big relationships, and so do a lot of dinners with clients and partners and vendors and those things. And so when COVID happened, we weren't able to go out to dinner with people and take people to lunch. And so then it was like, well, what do we do? And so one of my business development people, who's also a big bourbon advocate, had the idea of like, hey, let's send bottles of bourbon to CIOs and executives, and we would have the same bottle, and we would do a Zoom meeting, and we would just and have a kind of a conversation. And of course, nothing creates better obligation for somebody to join a call when they get a delivery of bourbon showing up and
Yeah.
a request for an hour of their time
Yeah.
on a Zoom
Creative.
call. So that went very successfully, and one of the things that I soon realized is I was having to buy 3 bottles each time, one for me, one for the sales rep, and then one for the client. And I was like, well, this is kind of adding up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I went and I heard about the executive bourbon certification, and of course, classic visionary. I'm always squirrel, some new
Yeah.
thing, certification, learning
Yeah.
about something that can turn into a great story. And so went down to Kentucky, did the certification, which is it's a classroom work, sensory. So you get this like really cool sensory kit to start, being out, how do you smell stuff? You get some hands-on actually making it, and then you take an exam at the end. And so what that course is actually designed for is in the hospitality industry to be able to lead tastings. And so then that I started making kits where I would have 4 different samples, and then we created an executive bourbon forum where we would invite then a group of CIOs or executives. We would send these kits out, and then I would do a little bit of bourbon history and kind of like these are the things that you're looking for. We would then talk business for a period of time, and we'd even get vendors to sponsor a portion of it. And then by the end, I would do a reveal. So it's like, who thinks that the weeded is such, which one is the weeded, which one's the rye, which one's the, and so everybody would kind of vote, and then I do a big reveal, and that just got really popular, and then even spun off a little bit into I have executivebourbonforum.com,
Nice.
because then all of a sudden people were like, dude, that's an awesome idea. Can you
Yeah.
do that for us? And so then
Good.
some EOS implementers and then charity started coming to me and said, hey, can we donate these for charities? So I really only because I can't really charge for my time what's appropriate, but
Yeah.
typically what I do is I'll donate these to charity, and then that's a great opportunity for me to network, meet great people,
Smart.
and share my passion. So
Smart way to tie in business to a charity to a personal passion and kind of cover multiple categories with the bourbon play. That's creative. I didn't know, coming out of COVID, like pivoting and thinking about different ways to be unique. And you're a bourbon
yep,
steward, and I think it evokes curiosity. I remember when I met you almost 3 years ago at the Visionary Forum. I was like, oh, he's got some uniqueness to him, and I remember the bourbon stuck out. So very cool. Moving on. So enough about the booze. Obviously, I got my own little mini collection back here, but I'm not a maestro like you are, Doug. That's for sure. We're going to talk about a couple of things. You wrote down a topic of discussion is change my playlist life, and this is a topic that's near and dear to me right now as I'm going through this entrepreneurial budding phase of starting TechLock, and I've obviously got my Filipino staffing agency SAS, which sounds like you're now signed up for. So thank you for
yep.
that as being a client. But tell me more about the book you're doing, Changing My Playlist, and how it's for entrepreneurs. You got self-doubt, things that can lead to shame, of failure, could be addiction, codependencies. Like these are all real relevant topics that swim through the heads of many entrepreneurs, especially the ones that burn the boats. They're taking a big swing at some big idea, and your path on finding some kind of peace and harmony and inner work to be a more conscious leader and visionary. Because one thing I love, Doug, you actually say in your title, visionary. I can't wait to be able to do that at some point with TechLock. I've got 5 hats, and I would love to own and live in that visionary position. So tell me a little bit more about this book. How'd you come up with it, and what's kind of the purpose of this?
Yeah, so the idea around it, and I know, I mean, even people like Gino are talking a lot about this recently, and he and Rob Dubay, who came out with Shine, um, are talking a lot about the inner turmoil that so many driven entrepreneurs. In fact, I mean, you can't be an entrepreneur and not be driven, and so the challenge with being driven. Is that a lot of drivens can be very emotional, can be very committed, can be very sensitive to things. And for a lot of driven entrepreneurs, we actually usually come from a lot of trauma. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are driven entrepreneurs and actually to prove themselves. I go back to school. I was told in high school that I shouldn't go to college, and so I should just go to a trade school and those types of things because I wasn't a good student and so forth. And and unfortunately, and I'm not. I think I would have done wonderfully in a trade school, but that my drive to prove everybody wrong. And, I ended up going to college and, graduating with, in honors programs and so forth and proving myself there. And then even in business and those types of things. But, entrepreneurship can actually turn into an addiction, just like how we try to regulate a lot of our what's going on the inside, and that playlist that starts building in the head of self-doubt and those types of things that can really get pretty ugly. And
Sure.
I know a lot of entrepreneurs that kind of face that darkness that's within, and so I was living with that. I would, basically, even, within the first many years of my business, I even, experienced codependency within my business and, that regulation and feeling unworthy. And so sometimes it even would turn into self-sabotage and, and those types of things. And so, changing my playlist was something that I kind of discovered about 3.5 years ago when I was in a really, really bad place. I had lost one of my business partners and best friends. We were very close for since even before we started radiant technology together. And he found out on his 50th birthday that he had cancer. Literally on the day of his 50th birthday. Had a party that night. He had to cancel. Ended up going to the hospital, and 6 months later passed away. And right around that time, same time, I lost another best friend. So probably 2 out of 3 of my best friends died within 6 months of each other. And then I lost my parents, both of my parents and my grandparents, about 6 months prior to that.
Wow.
And having kind of going all, through that, I kind of realized that all my priorities were out of whack.
Sure.
Going down to my parents' house and basically emptying their whole lives into dumpsters and everything that they had accumulated in their lives. And I was realizing that I was accumulating, so much of these things. And even, with my business partner, we would talk about the legacy and the connection and the things that we would have with people. But, the challenge with being in the technology industry is that it changes so fast that anything we work on within a few years is going to get replaced.
Yeah.
So while we're here, what we're doing for our customers is great for a period of time, but even really, really long term, there really wasn't a whole lot of legacy within that. And so I just really discovered that my values and where I was focused just really weren't in the right places. And so right around then, a friend of mine who's the CEO of another company, we were having lunch, and I was kind of sharing with him my path and where I was at, and just trying to decide whether I leave my company or what do I do. I was just I was lost.
You're lost, yeah.
And so he put me in touch with this amazing coach, Dr. Doug Brockman, who wrote the book Driven. And in fact, a lot of Gino and Rob's work, he talks about Driven, and he's been my coach for the last 3 years. And so realizing that inner work, and Doug talks about the 5 F's. And so you have fitness, family, fun, finance, and faith. And he would always ask me, it's like, okay, where are you at on those things? And the thing is most driven entrepreneurs usually are very focused on 2 of them and are completely out of balance on the other 3. And that's why you see so many entrepreneurs with, that are divorced and, separated from their families, because they're so focused on finance and their business, and maybe, a lot get into fitness and extreme sports, some get into fun, and unfortunately, even some drugs and alcohol, or, those types of things, or, even, strong within their faith. But we find that we get ourselves very out of balance. And so he really helped me to discover balance. But then through a lot of inner work and kind of figuring out me and my purpose and those types of things, that I've been able to change that algorithm in my head. And so I liken how I came up with Change My Playlist is I used to ride motorcycles as a form of meditation, because you have to be yoked to the present to ride a motorcycle. It's just like any other sport. I know people who run or do yoga or those, different types of things, or snow ski, and that's their form of meditation. And that's because you're yoked to focus on right then and now. Because if you're not paying attention while you're riding a motorcycle, like, you can get killed very easily.
Yeah.
And so that was my form of meditation. While I'd listen to music and I'd listen to Pandora, in which I created this awesome playlist.
Yeah.
And after a period of time, you input all these great songs that you love, and then it kind of uses its algorithm to then introduce new songs and so forth. Well, the problem on a motorcycle is you can't do the thumbs up, thumbs down, because you're paying attention to the road.
Yeah.
And a lot of my music was, rock and blues and stuff like that. Well, obviously those have a DNA connection to country, and I hate country. And so not hitting the thumbs up, thumbs down after a couple of years, my playlist turned into basically a country music playlist.
Really? Interesting.
And I hated it. And then you're trying to fix the algorithm, so you're re-inputting songs that you like to try to fix it, but the algorithm is basically, after a couple of years, locked into that negative playlist. And what I kind of discovered was I had this negative playlist in my head that over the course of the last 3 years that I've been able to change and really improve. And, that's I think hopefully making me a more conscious leader and better leader, because I don't have all of this, chatter in my head of doubt and so forth that I had for so long.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I mean, we've talked many times in this book, and I mean, speaks to me really directly right now with the phase I'm going through of trying to launch a company, got a young family at home, we got a lot going on, and I got SaaS and, there's just a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And, oftentimes you don't sleep great as an entrepreneur. Your mind's racing. You're thinking about, I got the finance meeting, I got a meeting with the board and all that. So to have some type of mechanism to, kind of calm your mind and unscatter the chatter. I know that's a Coach Bob thing, but very speaks to me directly. And I'm sure it does to many other entrepreneurs. So when do you think that book's going to be wrapped up and available?
So actually, I feel like I've finally come to what the conclusion is. So now I'm working on the outlines, and so hopefully within the next couple of years. But I've already been working with some people on doing some coaching and stuff, navigating through that, and taking using a lot of the resources and stuff that I found that really helped me, and to being able to help others.
Nice, I love it. Well, when that comes out, Doug, we'll bring it back on. We'll talk about the book more. Chapter 2, Doug Freutel on the Change My Playlist life. I love that. Very unique. So we're going to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. We talked about some heavy stuff. I appreciate being so open and having candor about, what you went through personally and professionally in the last, several years. That sounds like a really challenging, trying time in your life. And I think everybody has the waves of life. You get the highs and lows, and that was certainly a tough one to get through, but you made it through the other side, and I appreciate your openness with that. But let's talk about something more fun, more lighthearted. So, rapid lightning round. I'm going to give you a few questions and just fire them off. So you're a music guy, you like bourbon. I'm going to start there. You're on an island. You got one album that you can listen to the rest of your life, and that's it. One album only. Not a song or playlist, but a album. What would it be?
It's funny that you say I actually can't even tell you any albums because I literally require playlists because I don't pay that close attention to artists and albums. So if it'd be probably some sort of either blues,
Hmm.
um, or just a good upbeat like meditation music to kind of help me realize that I'm on a desert island alone and
Yeah,
how to keep my mind clean and spiritual.
probably the right decision versus like, Metallica Black Album or something crazy like
Yeah,
that.
no, exactly.
I like that answer. That's very entrepreneurial thinking. Meditate, chill out. Maybe Bob Marley. Bob Marley had a
That's
couple albums that were like very islandish, so maybe that's
I actually was almost going to say Bob Marley because I just saw that movie One Love and
yeah. How was it?
just it was so awesome. Just
Really?
the frequency in which he was operating. It I tell you, it's just really beautiful how he impacted so many people with his music. And that would be a good one.
That might be it. I mean, that's I didn't have just thought of it like, bam, Bob Marley. Well, it's good. I'll put that one on my playlist to see the Bob Marley movie, One Love. Okay, next one. Most people aren't bourbon fanatics like you. Like everything, every detail about bourbon. What is a great value, arguably the best value bourbon buy out there that you would recommend to the general? Like I like bourbon,
Yep.
not like doing classes on it, but what would be that? You want great value? This is the direction I'd go in.
So best one, and whenever I recommend it to people, they absolutely love it. Is Old Elk.
Okay.
So out of Fort Collins, Colorado, the master distiller there. Oh shoot, his name's escaping me. But he used to be the master distiller for MGP, which is the big provider for people who are doing secondary source, and so he was the master. Greg Metz. He was the master distiller for MGP, so he was basically the guy behind so many award-winning bourbons that were out there that you never knew. And so he went. The founder of Otterbox created Old Elk and recruited Greg to be the master distiller there, and they are producing just some absolutely amazing, high quality, great value stuff. And so, yeah, that's always a go-to. I'm always looking and seeing what new that they're creating because that's always very good.
Old Elk. Okay. Bottle costs. I mean, I'm sure they got a
As
range.
low as $49, and then like kind of their high-end stuff is usually no more than 100 and 110 for
Okay.
some of their really, really great stuff. So
All right. I like that. It's on my list. Old Elk. I love it. All right. One more. If you could go back in time, now it could be anybody present or in the past, let's call it the last 50 years, you have one shot at a meal, a nice big dinner, a lot of bourbon, whatever food you want, great steakhouse, could be anywhere. If you had one person that you could go back in time or present day to have dinner with, who would it be?
wow. So I don't know, the first one that popped into my mind was Thomas Jefferson.
Okay, that'd be a good one.
Um, yeah, no, I mean just yeah, I mean I think that that would just be an incredible conversation. Obviously, as a scientist, a diplomat, one of the founders of our country, um, philosopher, even on religion and spirituality.
Mhm.
I think that would be I don't know. That was the first. I'm sure there's so many that I can come
I mean,
up
it's a
with that
lot.
maybe
That's
even
a
be
that's
better.
a
But
good
yeah,
one. I mean, the depth
yeah,
in the history that guy's made. I mean, you want a well balanced, impactful person.
yep,
Yeah, Elon Musk is impactful, but he wouldn't be some. I mean, I love to have dinner with him, but he's so crazy
yeah.
and radical, and to have someone with that type of depth on different perspectives, that's a good answer. I love it. TJ, all right. Well, Doug, we're a little bit past half hour. Thank you so much for coming on our Delegate to Innovate podcast. You've been very insightful. And again, I love the range of Noble to bourbon to Radiant and your personal writing a book. You got a lot of awesome stuff going on. We'd love to have you back sometime down the road as things mature and develop on the book side or Noble, whatever it may be. And thank you for the
Absolutely.
time. Really appreciate you being here.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you, and always good chatting. So
I love
love
it.
it.
All right. Thanks, Doug.